What up, folks? Good morning. Got my guitar wank mug, courtesy of Scott Henderson and his awesome Guitar Wank podcast, or whatever it is. It's a podcast, right? It's not, I don't think they do video. It's a podcast. I was on it once, but I can't remember how we did it. Anyway, hi. Happy Sunday to you. Top of the morning, good people. What is happening? I was working last night on the next Amps in the Zone video, and I had a really good time thanks to my friend Toshi. Toshi's the guitar player on the Kimmel Show, and he's an awesome guitar player if you haven't checked out his music and stuff. And no soap coffee this morning. Silver says soap coffee again. No, it's all good. Anyway, so he lent me his it's a 66 or 67 Blackface Super Reverb. Oh man, it sounds good. So I had it turned up and essentially ended up on the kind of the Stevie Ray Vaughan settings, which are unique. They're like not what you would think, but like, I mean, the volume's on about 5 or 5.5. That's the way he used to use the Super Reverb. But the bright's on and the treble's on 9. So it's kind of crazy. But you turn the mids up to like 9 too, and it just sounds awesome. He used to run the bass really low on like 2. I found I could get it up to 4 and it sounded fine, but I'm using 10 gauge strings, of course. SRV used to use 13s, so be more output, more bass and stuff. Anyway, man, that amp sounded good. So thanks to my buddy Toshi and stuff. Really, really good tone. So I kind of almost, the video almost morphed into being about my whole thing lately about turning up amps louder and getting away from that whole super low volume trend, but then controlling the volume with your guitar volume. And sure enough, I haven't really experimented a lot with this, but turning up the amp to the point where, especially on a Blackface Fender, where it's just slightly breaking up and sounds really cool, but you know, you can go too far with it. But where it's just starting to break up, and the edge of breakup thing is so great on those old Fenders. And then rolling your volume down on your guitar to like 6 or 7, experimenting with that, then rolling the guitar volume all the way up, and then turning the amp down to where it's as clean as the other way. So when the guitar's on 10, you know, rolling the volume down on the amp so that it's like on maybe 3, and then it's matching the volume that I had it on 5 with the guitar down. If that makes sense. Sounds better with the amp up louder and the guitar down. It's juicier. There's like more, I don't know, the amp, just, they sound better when you get them up right into, that's why I called it Amps in the Zone. Getting the amp tuned right into its magic sweet spot and then just controlling the volume off your guitar. And then you've got the added advantage of that horsepower in reserve when it comes time to take a solo or whatever, you roll it up, much as people like Stevie and stuff used to do. It just sounds so good. So I'll put out that video probably Wednesday, something like that this week. Man, the amp sounds it's just my old Strat and that amp. That's all I did in the video. It's killer. Really, really nice. I recorded it, you know, through the internal 410 speaker that mic'd with a 57 and a ribbon and room mic and did all that good stuff. Okay. I'm back up a little bit here and see what you guys are talking about. Oh, I'm also going to send Sir a text. See if he'll come in, hang out. I said I would do that. John, please come visit my chat. Everyone is asking for you. He'll like that. Okay. Oh, this is interesting. Jerome says, your new song, Dirty Town, reminds me of Drive Time from Rick Emmett. I haven't heard that song, but I like Rick. Rick was always such a class act and a great guitar player. And he's still out there doing stuff, right? Still out there playing. I think Triumph, some sort of reunion, and he has a jazz career, I think. I always like Rick. And there's Alex King. What's up, Alex? We got Dave in the Mojave Desert. What's up? Hi, Desert. Thoughts about Marshall DSL-40. I haven't tried the newer ones. I've played through the old ones, like that came out in the 90s. And I always thought they were a cool sounding little amp. Um, Generally, Marshall amps, they sound good. They don't put out, like, I'm not crazy about all the modeling stuff and whatnot, but the DSLs and they're serviceable, good sounding. Even JCM 900s and stuff. It's like you can generally get a tone out of them, and they work. It's like, yeah, that was fine. I was able to. Uh, I don't know if they're. I mean, I love my little GTM one that I've got here. Um, those new Origin amps look interesting. They look kind of cool. I wouldn't mind trying the 20 watt. Have I had a chance to check the HX effects unit by Line 6? Yes, that's from Steve. I wrote some presets for it for the NAMM show, and we actually had a PT100 in the booth at NAMM. So we lent them a PT100 in cabinet to show the HX effects with. I had sort of hoped that maybe it would be a bit more of a thing, like they would have it and really be like maybe demoing it with a little bit of volume and stuff, but it seemed to be kind of, when I got to the booth, it was there with the amp, and it was kind of a very low volume, kind of off in a corner, and their booth was very dark, so it was hard to see the whole, and I was sort of like, it was a little, but anyway, it does sound really good. It's the Helix effects. Incidentally, yesterday I updated my Helix, or 2 days ago, I updated my Helix rack that I have in the studio, and I tried their new Friedman model. The BE model. It sounds amazing. It's like my favorite amp model of the thing. It sounds. I was like, this doesn't sound like I'm like modeling to me. It sounds like there's an amp in the other room. They kind of nailed it when you use a good impulse response. There you have it. I said it. I had to go back the next day and listen to it again and go like, was it? Am I crazy, or did that thing sound really, really good? Maybe it's not going to sound as good today. And I tried it again yesterday. It sounded really great. Yeah, really, really great. Guys in their modeling, getting so good at it. It's true. Okay. Can you get a Pete Thorn signature with 24 frets? No. I don't use 24 fret guitars generally. I do have a modern with 24 frets, but I don't like where it puts the neck pickup. I once heard it said, and this made a lot of sense to me, and this is what I'm going on, that when you got 24 frets, it puts the neck pickup further forward, and then it's not under that node. Like on a Strat, you get those magic chimey tones, and a lot of people think it's got something to do with the pickup being right underneath the open E kind of node, the 24th, so the next harmonic up from the open to the 12th fret to the 24th fret, right? You've got another harmonic happening there. And to have a pickup right under there is kind of a magic. There's something to that, I think. And that I was like, yeah, maybe that's what I don't like about 24 fret guitars, and I just kind of adopted that theory. But you know what I mean? It's like the Stratty kind of awesome thing where the neck pickup happens to kind of be right in the zone of where the 24th fret would be. And there's something about the tone. Neck pickups on 24 fret guitars, they just don't quite sound right to me. Plus, I never go up that high. I'm fine with 21 frets, to be honest. What do I think of a stereo rig where the two amps are voiced differently, like a Hedgehog and a SL67? It's great. Yeah, Hedgehog and XL67, that could sound phenomenal. I mean, and that could be sort of an amp rig, like that could be the basis for someone's tone. Like I know that, like for instance, Dean from STP used to use a Demeter preamp in an AC30. Or maybe it was a Demeter amp, but it was an amp and power amp if it was in the cabinet. I'm not sure which model he used, and he would blend those. Anytime you're blending, you get a nice, more complex thing. I don't do a lot of it, but I've done a little bit of it. It is a really, really cool way to go, blending two amps together in stereo that are different, or radically different, or slightly different. It can be nice. Even just like the very last show that I got to play with Chris Cornell was in 2016, and I experimented with using two PT100s, but an open back cabinet on one and a closed back on the other one, with kind of different speakers in each cabinet. And that was cool too, because you get the chime of the open back, and it kind of spreads around the stage a bit. And then the closed back cabinet and just the different speakers. It can be a nice thing to combine tones. Sure you get the best of both worlds of different amplifiers. Any Tim and Pete's coming up? Yeah, we shot one with Laurie Basilio, the great Laurie Basilio, and Nigel, the fellow that helps Tim with shooting, and some editing stuff and whatnot, was ill. So I'd hoped to get it out this week, but he's been sick. So next week should have it. I would think I'd probably have the footage by Monday or Tuesday. I'll try and edit it up and get it out next week. I loved him, and I love doing those things, and we both want to do more. As many as we can. We just get kind of caught up doing different stuff. How do you hook up your AC-15 to an attenuator? Mine doesn't have a 1/4 inch between amp and speaker. It's hardwired. It depends on the model, I guess, you have of AC-15. Mine has external speaker jacks that when you plug them in, there's one that'll disconnect the internal speaker. If you have that, you could always use an external cabinet, but you probably want to use the speaker in it. That would be an easy thing for an amp tech to do, to put like a, I would go to a tech and have them, have an easy way to kind of unplug the speaker with maybe a cable that's long enough to reach your attenuator, and then run another speaker cable back into the speaker jack. You might have to put another jack on the amp or something, but it's a fairly easy mod for a competent amp tech to do that. Marshall Mouth says, we have great weather today in the greater LA area. We do. It's true. I'm going to go take advantage of that later. I'm taking the rest of the day off today after I do this. I'm not going to do any guitar stuff. No guitar. And tomorrow I'll be back at it. Yeah. Hi from France. Do you use cheap pedals? Well, yeah. I mean, I got Boss pedals on my pedal board. Sound great. They're inexpensive. I use the Hyper Fuzz, one of my favorite fuzzes, and the Harmonist. I got those. What else is on there that's not too expensive? I have a regular Dunlop Mini Crybaby. That's nothing fancy. And I really like that new Dan Electro, that Texas Overdrive. I can't remember the name of it, but I think they're like, I don't know, $80 or something. That pedal sounded awesome. Like one of those pedals that you could charge $300 for and put it in a fancy box or something. Not that it's not in a fancy. It's actually kind of cool the way they look, but it reminded me when I played it, it was unique. Didn't really sound like other drives, and it had its own thing going on, and kind of a very sort of like, blues Texas kind of tone, but real smooth and amp-like. There, I said it. Let's see. Any guitar or amp techs in Toronto that I recommend? I don't know. I would have to ask. I would probably call a place like Cosmo Music and ask them. It's like a very big store up there, right? Because they're kind of a boutique store, and whoever they're dealing with to fix things probably must be pretty good, right? I would think they're the Sir dealer in Canada. That's probably where I would start, is hit up Cosmo. I would also, maybe they have somebody there. I have to ask Ian Thornley, who he goes to up there. Must have somebody good. But my old friend Lonnie Totman, who was a tech for me for a while, he's a great tech. He was Eddie Van Halen's tech and all kinds of Our Lady Peace he used to work for up there, and all kinds of people. He's extremely competent. I don't know if he's in Toronto, or I don't think he is. I think he lives outside of the city, and I don't know if he takes on other work, but he can fix just about anything, I would say. We worked together about 10 years ago, 2008, on tour. He was my tech for a while. Javier says, I have to drink coffee from Costa Rica. I do like Costa Rican coffee. I do. I like Costa Rica. I've been there. I was in kind of around Tamarindo, the west, sort of surf spots and stuff like that. I went there for a vacation once. It was amazing. I had a great time. Playa Negra. Kind of secluded and awesome. Love Costa Rica. Harrowing drive to get there, I'll say that. It was like 4 hours driving on a 2-lane road with traffic going both directions. Like you get off the plane and you get in a rental car, and then you got to drive out to the west coast. You could fly, but that's harrowing too. You got to get in a little prop plane or something. Always the safest, but yeah, you drive on this highway that's basically through a jungle all the way to the west coast, and so here I am driving a SUV with big like semis coming the other way on like what is not much more in some places than a dirt road through the jungle. I was happy to arrive in one piece at my destination. Once I did, I had a great time. Greetings from Egypt. Wow, that's awesome. I was in Egypt when I was 14, long time ago. Alexandria and Cairo. It was an awesome trip. I have a picture of me at the pyramids. I do. That's awesome. Good to see you here all the way from there. Fantastic. Uh, can I please talk about how I got international guitar playing gigs? Well, you kind of have to hook into that scene. So it's like with many things in life, you have to find somebody that knows about those things. That's kind of a part of the French scene or Japanese scene or Italian scene or somewhere where these gigs happen. You know, you meet somebody in the music business that's kind of tied in, and they know about these artists that sometimes are looking to hire, and it really is that. It's about who you know. You know, it's connections and making friends, and somebody will call you eventually. Go, hey, would you be interested in taking a gig with this artist that's from so and so? You know, yeah, I'd look into that. You know, and then they check you out, and so yeah. Have I tried any Cornish pedals? I tried the SS, the Soft Sustain 2, I believe it's called, and it was good. Soft Sustain 2, I think. It's like a compressor drive kind of thing. That's the only one I've tried. I know they're really, really highly regarded, um, and they are very expensive, but he's kind of like the Dumble of pedals, isn't he? It's like kind of, you know, legendary reputation. Not a lot of people have tried this stuff, maybe due to the cost. I'll tell you this though, drinking a smoothie, blueberries and banana. Guys like Dave Friedman have a lot of respect for Cornish. He was the he was before everything, you know, making his kind of like pro touring rigs and stuff in the '70s, and making things better, buffers, things like that. He knew about all that stuff, and he was kind of he's the granddaddy, and I think he really did it right. Typically, kind of old school, high end, you know, British. You know what I mean? Kind of like Neve. He's like the Neve of guitar gear. Custom, you know, high end rock stars, that sort of thing. Let's see. Have you ever seen the tribute band, the Fab Four? Is that the Japanese band? Yes, I went and saw them in Roppongi at that club they play at, and it was awesome. Great Beatles tribute if you ever go to Tokyo. Yeah, I think that's who you're talking about. Amazing, actually. Paul McCartney's actually hired them to play at parties that he has because they're so good. Um, could I ever see myself as a single pickup user like Phil X? Yeah, sure. I mean, I got my black Strat that has the Floyd and a single humbucker. I like it sometimes for certain sounds, you know. For Les Paul Jr. is a cool thing always. And there's something to like Phil's whole thing about like not having the neck pickup and it's pulling on the strings and it sounds more open and better with the one pickup. I think there's a lot to be said for that. It's just a scientifically provable thing that the magnets and the neck pickup kind of bugger up the tone a little bit no matter what. Like people think Esquires sound better than Telecasters sometimes. Okay. Let's see. Could I explain how to count odd time signatures? You struggle to keep count in your head while playing. You know, it's something you have to feel more than many riffs when they're written in odd time. Let's take like "Free Will" by Rush. You know, dun 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 dun. You know, you just feel it. Like, when you hear the riff, it becomes like second nature. If you're talking about soloing over it, you just have to practice. If you're improvising, it can be more difficult. You know, but when I think about that Rush riff, dun 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 dun, it just feels like it doesn't even, I don't even think of it like odd time. I just hear it. You know, and you just have to play them enough where you, it doesn't feel odd anymore. I don't know how else to describe it. It just takes some practice. It's hard though if it's like something that people are jamming on and you're trying to improvise over it. It's definitely can be. It's difficult. Drummers, I mean, they practice this stuff constantly, right? And guitar players, maybe we don't, but drummers are constantly working on that stuff. odd meter and playing, you know, and like displacing grooves and stuff. They just live in that world all the time, and there's no substitute for the practice, you know. At least a lot of the drummers I've seen are always practicing silly stuff like that. No, it's not silly. Any experience with the Friedman ASC12 monitor for modelers? I haven't really tried them. Dave always has them in his place, you know, at the shop and stuff, but I haven't. I've heard people playing through them there with like Axe effects and stuff, but I don't have. I have to say, I honestly haven't. Oh wait. I did play through them at the Stang Guitars Clinic I did in Edmonton a while ago. They had them mounted up on stands, and that was what I was playing through. Dave, I think, intentionally designed them, I'll say this, to be a little beefy, like to have, they're not necessarily totally flat. I think he designed them to be like, to feel a little more like a guitar cabinet, to have some, you know, to not be totally flat, but to have a bit of that knock that guitar cabinets have. So, for what it's worth, I think that's the case. Do I still have the gold top Les Paul that I used with Chris Cornell? No, I sold it to a guy named Joe, and he's got it. The two Les Pauls that I had then in the early part of the touring were 58 Historic and a 57 Historic. The 58 Historic I sold to a guy named Harris, and the 57 Historic I sold to Joe. I still have my R9, which I bought the last year that I toured with Chris. And the main Les Paul that I really played a lot with Chris was my Black Custom. It was in drop D, and I used it for a ton of stuff, and I still have that. The gold top I only used on 2 songs. I used on What You Are and Rusty Cage, and I had it tuned with the drop B tuning with a heavier string on the low E. And then the other one I had in standard tuning, the 58. They had really big necks, those 2 guitars, as those guitars do, the older Historics. Too big for me, really. Nice necks, but big, you know? I've never played a real, I lost my place in the chat, I'll go back and find it. I've never played an old Les Paul that had a neck like those. And I never really totally understood why they did that, why they used such big necks. Okay, paging down a bit. Steve says, love the new single. Thank you, man. Working on the record. I've got I got to get the, you know, I want it out within, we're going to do, well, okay, so something about the record. We're doing a pledge music campaign for the physical copy. I wasn't going to do CDs, but now I am, because people want them. So what we're doing is a pledge music thing, which is essentially like a pre-sale for CDs, T-shirts, all that kind of good stuff. And we're going to announce that this week officially and figure out what all the packages are. We're doing some fun, cool packages and stuff like that. So that's going to happen. Anyway, I've got 6 songs done, finished, completed basically. And I just got to do the other 4, and that shouldn't take me too long. So I hope I can knock out the next 4 within like 2-3 weeks, and then get the record, you know, it's got to be mixed mastered now within 2 months. So I'm getting it done, I swear. Do I use the buffer on the buffer bay of the pedal board? Yes, and that's from Marshall Mouth. Yes, I do, and that, to tie it all up with a previous question, is, I know, inspired by Cornish buffer. Okay, so, Pete Cornish. Similar, you know, type circuit. I should play the Comet more. I know, I should, you're right. Maybe I'll use that on something for the record, because the Comet, my Comet Concord is an amazing amp. It's coming from Victor. Yeah, I will. I gotta use it more. I want to actually try it through the aux. See what that sounds like. Come up with a cool setting where they both are symbiotic. Do I think my new PT amps will come out this year? Oh, see, Sir should be here. So you guys can beat him up about it. Yeah, I think so. They're gonna come out this year. They have to. Put it that way. Do I find it difficult to do backup vocals and play guitar at the same time? Sometimes, yes. And what you have to do, and this was something I learned from my friend Al many years ago, and this really works, nail the guitar part on its own, and then nail the vocal part on its own, and then work on putting them together. And if it's hard to do, there's generally one point in the phrase that you're trying to sing and play at the same time where there's like a rhythmic thing that's crossing over and is a little weird, where the voice and the guitar are hitting something at a slightly different time. And if you nail the vocal part and really practice it, and you have the guitar part nailed, then put them together and do it very slowly, you will find those spots. It's usually only like one or two, but you'll find the spot that's tripping you up, and you just do it and do it and do it. And within about 10 minutes, you can get it at that point. But try and work on them separately so you've got them both nailed, then put them together and work through the rough spots. That's how I do it. Wisconsin, hello from Wisconsin. Any thoughts on the Synergy amps? They sound good. I haven't really I kind of have messed with them probably more than most people. So my comment is I think the most useful ones in the line would be the single preamp that people can add. So you can get that thing and use it as a simple like recording pre because it's got a recording out, or you can add it to your amplifier to add another channel in a different tone. That could be a cool thing, like if you've got a Fender combo or something, and you need a credible overdrive sound that sounds amp-like. You could add the Soldano or Friedman module or something like that in there and put that with the effects loop and everything in your amp and actually have like now you've got a dirty thing. So that's really useful, I think. And I tried the little head, which they're offering. I think it's out now, but they have a couple different heads that you can put the thing in, and it has a simple clean channel with like a volume and treble and bass or something, and then you can put your module of choice in there. I thought it sounded really, really good. I tried it, especially with like the Plexi module, just the straight up kind of Marshall-y one. With that clean and the Plexi thing, and then you could hit it with a few pedals, and it was good. It sounded really good. It was cathode bias, maybe 30 watts, 20 watts or 30 watts. So I like that. The kind of more complicated ones and then the bigger ones, my only thing is like, well, I don't know, like Randall sort of did this years ago in Attenuator, right? Maybe there's a different crowd out there now. Maybe people will get into it, but it was like, well, I still have my M4, my old Randall preamp. So yeah, that's my take on it. But Avi's really, boutique amp is his company, and he's working really hard on it. He really believes in it, so I hope it's successful for him. Rob says he's recording a indie band next week. Any amps, pedals you should look into for the session? For an indie-ish band, well, if I was going to go in the studio and I didn't know exactly what it was going to sound like, I would get, I would want a great sort of blackface style Fender is a great thing. It could be even a Princeton or a deluxe reverb or one of those 68 custom, style deluxes or Vibralux, one of those newer ones. I would get one of those. Try and rent one if you don't have one for the session. And then I would get an AC30 of some sort and probably something Marshall-ish. Those would be the 3 amps I would say you would want a Fender Vox Marshall sort of tones. Or you could just get a PT100 and have it all in one amp. Seriously. Not the Vox, maybe, but the Fender Marshall covered. And as far as pedals go, I would suggest some good, like the standards, a Tube Screamer, a Klon sort of pedal, and then you want some fuzzes, so a Big Muff and a Octafuzz of some sort. My choice being the Hyper Fuzz, which always works great. But yeah, like an octave fuzz, a Big Muff style fuzz, and maybe a fuzz face style fuzz, and then a couple of drives, and then have some good like other kind of wacky effects and stuff around. Analog delays with a lot of character and color, that kind of thing. Get the Strymon pedals if you just want to kind of one-stop shop it. Get a Timeline and get a Mobius and maybe a Big Sky. Those types of reverb, or get one H9 Strymon, and then you got everything kind of covered. And for God's sakes, get good tuners and make them tune a lot. I would say you'd be all set if you've got all that. What's my opinion regarding the news about Gibson and bankruptcy and stuff? Well, I don't know. What do I know about business? I mean, they are deep in debt. They got a lot of problems. I don't sort of wish ill on anybody. So I hope they can figure it out or make the changes they need to make management-wise and stuff like that. I think the company's too big and they're selling guitars for. It's too many products, and they've tried to branch out and be something they're not. I do believe all that. I've talked about it before that I wish that what they would do is make guitars in Kalamazoo, Michigan, have the people working there that knew how they made them back in the day, whoever's left, there's a few guys, find those people and treat them like gold, and just get back to the basics and restructure. So I don't even know if that's reality, because I don't know, but maybe it's going to take them going down, and then sort of fighting the way back, either as a new company restructured or whatever. Who knows? I don't know. But it sounds like they're in a world of hurt. I mean, like $400 or $500 million in loans sounds like an awful lot of money to me. I had no idea their revenue is $1 billion a year. That's amazing to me. But there's a guitar company that makes $1 billion a year in revenue, but with bills like that and debt. I heard Guitar Center's debt's like 1.5 billion or something. I may be wrong about that, but oh my God, man, how do you come up? It's just saddled with that kind of madness. That's got to be really, really tough. The business is changing, and I think for a long time, guitars have been flooding the market, and there's so many guitars out there, and there's so many used guitars, and it's like how can it sustain itself? At this level of and also guitars getting cheaper and people expecting more for less, and that sort of race for the bottom. There's got to be a fine line, where it's like you cross it, it gets ridiculous. Like I'm talking about, like, people sometimes complain about the price of my guitar, for example, which is priced at $34.95, but for a U.S.-made custom shop guitar, it's less than like any Fender custom shop you can get. Try and find one. Go look, like if anybody's got time right now, go look on Wildwood or go look anywhere. Those guitars start at $3,800 and go up. Fender custom shop, right? So I feel, yeah, mine, it ain't cheap. It's $35, but this is the reality of making stuff in California. It's like there's minimum wage, there's matching social security, there's health care for employees, and it's just a very, very, very expensive state to have a business in. So it's like that's just how it goes. Unless you want to buy something that's made, there's nothing wrong with things that are made in other countries. I have no sort of, I do believe it's great to buy American and buy, like, from the people that live locally and do, support local business and stuff like that. And that's a big part of why I work with Sir. I can drive over there and see what's going on. Everything's made right there. But anyway, I digress. I just think that it's a complicated business now, and not only that, it's like there's more and more and more and more all the time. Guitars, pedals, companies, more people getting into it and more, and so it's like everybody's fighting for that piece of the pie. It's a difficult game. Even the guys that I know, and I know some of the top, companies. I'm friends with the owners of these places, and it's like they all say the same thing, which is like, if anybody thinks that we're getting rich doing this, like they're crazy, and they're the ones with the most successful sort of, small to mid-level companies. Everybody's fighting hard, and it's a complicated game. Is John here? I wonder, did John sign on? I hope so. I don't think so. Maybe hit me back. Said he had stuff to do. I'm gonna hit him up again. It was fun last week when he came in. He's probably scared. Somebody says he got mobbed. So, do you only use the Thornbucker Plus in the bridge now? Most of the time, I have the regular Thornbucker. Well, no. In my R9, I still have a regular Thornbucker, and then in the black guitar, I have a regular Thornbucker. I'll probably switch it out for a Thornbucker Plus in the black guitar, but in my Les Paul, it sounds great. So, where I choose the original over the Plus. Well, maybe in Les Pauls, if you want a real traditional tone. And somebody's asking. Sorry, let me say the question. Somebody's asking where I would choose the original Thornbucker over the Plus model. And if you if you want a real traditional kind of gain level and kind of, a little bit more of the clean thing coming out of the guitar than just and I'm talking, it's really slight here. Like, I mean, 8.3 to 8.7K ain't a lot, let's see. Brett saying he played the Synergy amps modules at Sweetwater yesterday. Thought it sounded great. Then he plugged into the Marshall Astoria. Nothing beats real tube tone. Well, so you're saying you tried the preamp through maybe like studio monitors or something? Because the Synergy is tube. So I'm just wondering kind of the configuration you used it in. It's tube. Maybe you were listening through studio monitors or something. That's what you mean with no power amp involved. The other thing about preamps and power amps, when I've talked to certain people about this, Sir has talked about this, is that having, I don't really understand it, but having everything in one amp, like, so in other words, preamp, power amp, even if they're both tube, they're kind of separate pieces, and there's something to do, that he made some point to me at one point about everything being in the same, like, the preamp, power amp, transformers, everything's part of the same thing. I don't know. I'll have to ask him about that again to kind of clarify that, but Tylenol88 says, please come to Vancouver. Man, I want to come to Vancouver. I miss it. I follow that Instagram page. It's like Vancouver Instagram or something with beautiful pictures of that city, and I miss it so much. I haven't been there since 2012, I think. It's one of my favorite places on earth. I'll probably go up there and never leave, though. I almost moved there. I've talked about that at one point, and then I didn't. And sort of wish that I had in some ways. Wouldn't have done a lot of stuff that I've done, but would have been a different life. I'd probably be a good snowboarder. Anytime Tim and Pete's guitar show coming up. Yeah, so the one with Laurie Basilio is coming up, who if you haven't seen, you're going to love it. And you say, when you guys have guitar players I don't know about but are amazing, you like that. Yeah. Wait till you see Laurie play. If you haven't seen her play, go follow her on Instagram. She's so good. And T-Head says, thanks for all the gear demos, lessons, and insight you generously provide. Absolutely. I'm happy to be here doing this, hanging out with you guys on a Sunday. Cheers from Ontario, says Phil. Thoughts on the Mesa Lone Star? I kind of like those amps. I don't know that I think I played one once. But, Andy Timmons sure gets some great sounds. And that would be one of the boogie amps that I think I would probably gel with pretty good, the Lone Star. I think they have a real nice clean sound. Which amp sounds best with your Macmull, says Vincent? Well, pretty much anything. That guitar sounds amazing. Great P90 style situation going on there. It's got a little thing I have to get a tech to look at right now where I'm bending and the string's spreading out a little bit on the B string. So they sent me something in my email the other day. I haven't had a chance to look at it yet about fixing it, but it just does it. It's something to do with probably just the bridge and the way the string's sitting on it. I just have to get it fixed. So I haven't actually played it that much recently in videos because when I bend the B, it's just doing this little thing. I just have to get a tech to look at. It's not fretting out. I think it's something to do with the bridge saddle. So just started doing it one day. Will I be demoing the Comet KODA? Is that the overdrive pedal? I think Sean Tubbs maybe did the demo. But I'd be happy to if they want me to. Okay. Jennifer says to Rock and Chippy, which is Alex, you should tell Pete about Satriani. What about Satriani? What happened? Is everything okay? I hope so. When people say things like that, I get worried. Or was it just something like, you like Satriani? Do you always nail the guitar parts first try in your videos? No, hell no. Do you know when to start record? How do you know when to start recording video? So generally I'll get an idea of what I want to do kind of loosely and then, play it around a bit and just jam. I'll just jam and then be like, all right, it's time to start recording. Like there's that, you don't want to get too dialed in on something because then you lose the spontaneity and then maybe it starts to become too polished. So I'll just start running the camera at that point when I'm like, yeah, I basically got it. It's pretty cool. Okay, let's record, and then I just hit record and play it around a few times, and then end up with the take I like. Generally, it's like that. I'm no first take wonder. It's not my. I gotta play things around a bit and develop ideas. You know, I need to play things for a minute in order to get to my best stuff. I've said it before, like the Tim and Pete show, where you see me like that Michael Thompson episode, where Michael's like, "Hey, this would be a great idea. Let's each play a solo over this track I'm working on. And we'll play it on my guitar, and we'll just take first takes." I was like, you're sitting there with Tim Pierce and Michael Thompson, and Michael suggests that, and you're like, "What did I just get myself into? Oh my God!" But luckily, I think I did okay. But I didn't play like an amazing solo. It was just like competent. It was like, okay, that was good. You didn't fall flat on your face in front of those guys. But had I been able to sit there and jam for 10 minutes, I probably would have come up with something much better. I'm still fine with it. And that's where, to me, Tim Pierce is, you just, watch him play. He's just laughing the whole time and playing this amazing shit that sounds like, oh, wish I could do that. I've learned so much from Tim, actually. Just he plays with so much precision and feel and intentional, like there's no fluff going on when he plays. He starts playing and it's every note is. He reminds me of Jennifer Condos, this bass player I used to play with, who didn't play a lot. She wasn't like a, but every note, she put so much into every note. I always remember that about her. Like, that's really cool. Like, and it's like, it really adds up to better music, The song sounds better and has more. So I try and do that. I do. But Tim's a real master of it. Everything, there's a lot of joy and passion and everything, and pretty much every note and lick and thing that he plays. My thoughts on the creative thought process. Get out of your own way and just go for it. That's from Chris. You got to get out of your own way and not edit yourself too much. So the demos that I make, the video demos, they've been almost like therapy and cathartic, because it's like I'm not taking them so seriously. It's not like, this is my definitive artistic statement as a songwriter. It's like, it's a video demo for an overdrive. I need to write a song for it that shows off the overdrive. So in a minute and a half, let me come up with something. So I've taken the heat off myself, because it's not like, it's got to be like this amazing thing. But yet, it's still out there just like a song. So I kind of tricked myself into thinking like, all right, and then you've got this freedom, where you don't have to overthink things too much. And I learned that like early on. I was in a band. We labored over recordings, worked really, really hard on things, and it was cool. And then I got in a band where I just did things for fun. It was actually a duo project where I was just songwriting with somebody, but we just recorded for the hell of it. It didn't have to be like whatever. We just like recorded wacky stuff without too much thinking about like what kind of songs would be popular, or what the people want to hear us do. It was none of that. It was just like, we're just going to be creative and write stuff that we want to do and have a really good time doing it. So we never overthought things. And we started that out, and a couple months later we had this like collection of like 8 or 9 songs that were like, these are really fun to listen to. These are great, And then we sent them out to some labels and stuff, and instantly got a whole bunch of interest. Nothing ever ended up happening with it, but we did get some, like, wow, we love what you guys are doing, and we want to come see you play live, and we got a lot of that, coming back. And I hadn't had that kind of like instant positive, and it was like, whoa, I get it. Don't overthink it. Don't be too analytical, and don't be too hard on yourself, and don't, just allow yourself to have fun and create, or, whatever, be passionate, create whatever it is, but don't over edit, over analyze, and, just give yourself the freedom to just let it come out. I don't know how else to describe it, other than that. The second you start editing too much, it kills it. Okay, hope that is helpful in my thought process. It really is what it is. I don't think about things too much. I just do what sounds good to me. Need a tutorial video on the new HX effects and MIDI control. I don't really make tutorial videos. I leave that up to the manufacturers. I find them tedious and boring. Like in the spirit of kind of almost what I just said, I really like to just write music. So that's how I got into this video format of writing a song and coming up with 8 or 9 6 tones or whatever for something like the Helix, right? I wrote that song for the original Helix video demo that I did, And I just went, here's a bunch of tones I came up with this thing. This is what I was able to come up with, and I wrote this song. That's the video I like to make. As far as like tutorial on how to work the MIDI in something, that sounds like it. I hate MIDI, and I hate dealing with. I'm an idiot I'm an idiot. I am, and so just the amount of time I have to spend figuring out MIDI and programming it to get my rig to work or whatever, to have it switch my amp, is like about as much time as I like to put into things, not explaining them in videos. I will say this. It's not really that hard. The MIDI, basically you have to decide with MIDI whether you want to do program change or control change, you know, and control change messages, you can change anything within, so let's say like, on my pedal board, right? I've got my, I'm only going to talk about this for a minute because it's going to get boring, people are going to leave, but I've got my Musicom Lab switcher, and I could either make presets on my switcher where it would tell my amp, because my amp is MIDI, the PT100, so with each preset I could tell my amp what channel I wanted it to go to, right? But then within a preset I wouldn't have a way, if I wanted to instantly change the channel. So what if I want to like turn on the boost within a preset, or what if I want to go from channel 2 to channel 3 and play a solo on my amp, but don't change the preset. So what I did instead was I used control change messages, and that's how I control the PT100 from my MIDI controller. I have the function switches on the Musicom switcher. I have 3 of them dedicated to switching. One sends a control change message that switches from channel 1 to 2, another one switches from channel 2 to 3, and another one turns the boost on and off. So now within a preset on my Musicom switcher, I can go to I think it's the second or third page or whatever on the Musicom, and then I've got 3 switches that come up, and those are the ones that I program to switch the amp functions. And so if I'm like, oh, I really want to go to the dirty channel right now, I just bang up to that third, you know, I hit the switch and go up to the third page, and now I can just hit that one. So it takes a few button pushes, but I can get to that sound within the preset. I can change channels on the amp. Hope that makes sense. So I decided to use control change messages to control my amp rather than program change. Now, some people might just want to use programs, like if you're using something like the Helix HX effects and you have a MIDI controllable amp, you can, per sound on the HX effects, per preset on there, you could send out a program change message to your amp to tell it to change channels, or program change messages to other effect units you've got MIDI'd up, or you could use control change messages to turn things on and off and do things. So that's pretty much it. Maybe you already knew all that, but anyway. Doing any aux recording? Yeah, I've used it all week actually on videos and stuff. I didn't use it for the amps in the zone video I've got coming out this week because I wanted to mic the amp. Of course, it's a super reverb. I wanted to mic the good old speakers and that and stuff. But I've been using it for pretty much everything this week, getting used to it. Let's see. How do I transport my coffee when touring? When you're touring, generally you got coffee in a tour bus, you know, coffee maker. Or if you're in France, it's everywhere. So you don't transport your coffee. You just go in the nearest, pretty much turn around and look on the street. Right? Japan, too. Japan is fueled by caffeine. There's so much caffeine in Japan, it's ridiculous. Like, everywhere you look is energy drinks and coffee, and that country runs on caffeine, and then a night on alcohol. Jim says, convince me to put a humbucker in the bridge of my Strat. Oh, man. I don't know. Do you have to route it? If you have to route it, it's a big decision. Okay. We got about almost 400 people. That's pretty good. Not too bad. Just judging by previous weeks. Where's the other 100? We were up to 500 at one point. Where'd everybody go? Somebody call their friend, tell them to get online. It's not a numbers game. It's a smaller, intimate group, which is fine. You liked my TC Electronic G System tone. I did too. I had a good time using those things. Eventually, I'm sure they'll come out with another one. They're way overdue, right? Because they were kind of like the only game in town when that thing came out. We should have another one. Especially now they've got all the tone print. Imagine if TC had a G System Mark II that had a tone print capabilities. You could put all that cool stuff in there. Just load in all your sounds. It'd be pretty great. Um, any tips for learning a long set of songs at short notice? You make cheat sheets and charts if you have to, and you have to use a phrase trainer and just load MP3s, or I use Transcribe from 7th String. That's the phrase trainer I use, and I don't use iTunes or whatever. And I try and learn 3 songs a day or something like that. I did at one point. I learned in one day, like, well, in 48 hours, I learned 22 or 23 songs once. That's nutty. Okay. What Attenuator modules are in my preamp? I've got a bunch of them. I've got the Voxy one. I've got the sort of blackface Fender one. I've got a BE. I've got a Plexi one that sounds really good. Always sounded good. I haven't used it forever. I've got a Soldano sort of one. It's sitting there, but I think sounds good. I used to use it in my touring rig. So in my touring rig circa 2000 and I guess 9 through 2011, I had a rack that had the Attenuator preamp in it, and it was in a loop of the switcher. And anyway, I could switch it in. I was using the PT100s by then, but I could use it much like you use these Synergy things now, where if I wanted to use one of the Attenuator modules as my preamp running into the effect loop of the PT100, I could switch that in. And I used to use the Voxy one quite a bit for that. But man, it was a lot of knobs. Having a 3-channel amp and then having a preamp with 4 channels and all those levels to set. I was like, this is ridiculous. I don't need all this stuff. It sounded good, but it was a lot of levels to set. Mark's in Banff. Hey Banff, what's up? I'm sure it's a nice morning there. Hopefully not too cold. Let's see. Fernando says, greeting from Dayton, Ohio. Thanks for the great gear demos. My pedal board is now awesome. I'm glad to be able to help. Sorry if I made you spend too much money. Let's see. Brantford, home of Wayne Gretzky. That's right. Ontario, right? I always forget when he's from Ontario. Somebody says, am I getting sick? No, do I sound hoarse? I'm not. Probably just allergies. That's right, I'm sneezing. I feel like I got allergies a little bit. LA is like allergy land. The wind blows different here, and it's like, you know, it's a desert. It's like too many people, and it's a desert, and it's dusky, and never rains, so like all the shit blows from out east and comes out this way, and you're like sneezing in your eyes and stuff, you know. Rusty says, to live and die in Nashville is awesome. Thank you. It's been a minute since I did that. Somebody's got a question about Barefoot Microman 45 monitors. How are they? Are they worth the money? They're great. I mean, they are expensive. They're great. They sound killer. They sound really true. I mean, they're like a great flat monitor that doesn't color things. And they make I still love my Atom monitors. I use them all the time. But they make the Atom sound a little boxy in the low mids, and then you can kind of hear the crossover point going from the mids to the honeycomb style tweeter, you know. It sounds, you know, I just know those monitors so well that I still use them a lot. But the Barefoots are fantastic. What do I think about the new Boss GT1000? I wrote some presets for it with them. It's promising. I haven't really, you know, they're still working on the software, I think. So it's like once they get that all dialed, you know, then we'll be able to. It's hard. I can't actually answer your question, to tell you the truth, because I just don't have the experience. I feel like to answer it accurately. Does John Sir agree with your 24 fret opinion? I don't know. You'd have to ask him. I'm not sure. Would you only suggest stereo rig for a board for band with one guitarist? Not necessarily, but it's cool. If you're the only guitar player, you can get away with stereo, and it's great. You can hand you in the mix, and it's like I think it makes more sense than stereo in a band with 2 guitar players, which I do all the time. But I think the stereo makes more sense when you're the only guitar player. What happened to the Corso? It doesn't appear on the Shure website anymore. I think they discontinued it. Is it worth seeking out? I really liked the Corso. You know, I don't know. It was a great amp. I think maybe the look of the, it looking too different or something, or people didn't know what it was going to sound like maybe when they got it. I don't know. Um, I, it's hard to say why people buy some things and why they don't buy other things. You know, it's it's possible. I don't know. I'm not sure. Why it didn't sell more of them. It was a cool little amp, really great little recording amp. When am I going to demo the new Friedman DPOD? Did I try it at NAMM? No, but I think it's basically like a BE, double BE style pedal, maybe with one more gain, something like that. But it's not coming out for a while, so I don't think it's coming out for a few months. Don't quote me on that. I don't want to be the one with misinformation. But I think I asked Dave about that. Like, hey, do you want me to make a video for your pedal? And he said, well, closer to when it's actually available in stores. Say hello to Brazil. What's up, Brazil? Hello. I wish I knew how to say hello in Portuguese. I don't. Griffith Park. These posters are cool, but they stick to everything I put on them. So what's the point? Right. What do I think of Justin Derrico playing? He's a monster. He's a great guy. I love Justin. He's cool. He's just a cool guy to hang with. I see him sometimes around, and he's always a nice guy. What a player, man. What a player. He's ferocious. What do I think about the Sir Modern Satin Hum Single Hum? Next guitar I'm going to buy. Cool. Get a black one, Stealthy. Okay, how would you suggest a wet-dry wet rig with the stereo pair going direct? Well, that's easy, actually. You just would simply plug your amp into a cabinet, use something like the Sir line-out box or a similar product to take a tap off of the speaker, so you run the speaker out of your amp into the line-out box through to the cabinet. It takes a line-level tap off of that you're going to send out to your effects. You have to run your effects 100% wet on your time-based stuff. And you just take the outputs of those effects straight to a DI and go to the PA or whatever you're doing and mic your amp traditionally. And then you wouldn't have any effects on stage or whatever, but you could somehow get them in ears, back through the floor wedges, something like that. Might be a little weird. Most people that have done that tend to do it with some PA cabinets on stage. So like, I don't know if they still do it, but Larry Carlton and Eric Johnson and maybe Robin Ford, I've seen different people do. I think maybe it wasn't Robin, I can't remember, but some people have those. They'd have those powered JBL PA cabinets sitting, on either side of their cabinet, and they would have wet effects coming through those, and that's basically how you do it. And that would only be for like on-stage monitoring. I hope that makes sense. Okay. Moving along. That's a good question. Mario, what's my, he's from Germany, what's my 5 favorite Celestion speakers except the V30 and Greenback? Well, I really like, I don't know if I can come up with 5, but I really like the Neo Creamback. Sounds like a great worn-in Greenback. Really, really great speaker, and it's like half the weight. So look into that. I really like the Creamback H, which is what we use in the PT100 cabinets. Really terrific all-round speaker for dirty and really robust sounding. Like my favorite thing is the Greenback thing, but the Creamback H has a real robust, full, balanced tone, even when dirty. It's like I like them more than most G12H30s I've heard, actually. It just sounds really good. And then it's got, full bottom and nice sparkly cleans for top, too. I like their Alnico Creamback, really good sounding, high-powered Alnico speaker that has all the tone and character of a lower-power Alnico speaker. They really nailed it in that. So it's got a lot of, similarities to the Blue. Of course, you can only use a Blue with a low-power amp, or you need a lot of them. So the Alnico Creamback, you can throw that speaker in a 50-watt combo or whatever, no problem, and get a, really great tone. I actually want to hear one in my Bella. I'd like to hear that. The V-Type is a good all-round speaker for, it's got kind of kind of greenback, kind of E30 qualities mixed together, and it sounds really good. And they're like $99 or something, or less, $89 or something. They're cheap. That's almost 5, I think. I'll just pick a blue for another one, which is the classic, you know. So you can't beat that for the AC30 thing. Let's see. Here's a good question. Kevin, when you have a lot of projects going on at once, how do you keep up with them all and stay on track? Sometimes I don't. I just sort of go, well, this is all I can do today. And I can't do more than that. So this is what I'm going to do, which is like the other day, it was 2 or 3 hours of emails, and I went to the studio and made a demo video because I had to get it done. And it's like there's a whole bunch of other videos to make. And I'm trying to finish the record. And I got Holly's record to finish still, although we're making progress on that. But it's like, there's only so many hours in the day, and just one guy. I am attempting to get more organized. I'm making a spreadsheet for videos that I got to make and stuff, and kind of organizing things. Somebody that helped me out with that this week, which was very nice. And doing that, and also starting to work with a friend of mine in kind of management capacity to help me get organized and, you know, hopefully maximize my time and look for new opportunities and things like that. So I'm trying. Let's see here. Can I recommend a pickup combination for SSH Strat and the humbucker sub a single coil format that can do pipe chugging and convincing Knopfler sound in 2 or 4? I really have no idea. You would have to try something like the little 59 or something for that single coil humbucker and see what it sounds like when you split it. I don't know what it's going to sound like. But my single coil choice for the most part in the last number of years has been the V60 LP from Shure, which I really like. So as far as singles go, that's what I like. Question is regards to my thoughts on the aux. Do I use a live gig product that would solve some of the sound guy issues? Yeah, I mean, you could totally use it for that. That's one of the most interesting sort of ways to use it, I would say, is like bring it, run your amp through to a speaker, and then you've got an attenuator there that you can control the volume on stage, but then use the outputs to send a cabinet sound to the front of house, and they don't have the mic anymore. Solves 2 problems: keeps your volume reasonable on stage, allows you to adjust the volume of even a non-master volume amp, and also gives you a great mic'd up sound that you've already sort of pre-done at your studio or home studio or whatever. You can dial in a killer, you know, whatever your ideal cabinet sound is for a live gig. Maybe with a little bit of room mics mixed in, or even some little bit of plate verb or whatever you want to use in that thing. Dial it in, store that to one of the presets on the rig knob, and just send that to the sound guy. They're happy because they don't got to mic your amp, and it sounds ballsy in the PA. Generally, what you're going to find when you run speaker simulator type stuff that's really good in the PA is it sounds better than micing. It just does live. It's like, I've done it on a few tours now, and it's just in the PA. It's like, you know, when you go out and you hear that sound, it's like it's plastered to the speakers. It's just like right in your face, like a real, you know, good quality speaker simulator sound, as opposed to like a 57 that somebody throws in front of your amp live and the bass guitar is bleeding into it and stuff. Still, there's a place for that and it sounds good, but it's like, you don't know what's happened with that 57 in a club many times. I mean, he's been, you know, the drummer's been hitting it with a drumstick because he's been on toms or something, and, you know, so, yeah. The thing kind of solves multiple problems, you know, and works, you know, studio and stage, I think, nicely. People are still trying to figure out what it is, I feel like, though. How do I handle multiple guitar players in your ear mix? Generally, I pan and this kind of screwed me a bit, but I pan my own guitar left a little bit, just like here, and then the other guitar I've got maybe even further right. So kind of like way over here at 2:30 or something, and then this one's 11 o'clock, and that's my guitar. I'll pan it a little bit off center, but I did that for years, 3 years with Chris Cornell, and we used to play too loud, and I got some tinnitus in my left ear because of that, because I had my guitar louder over here, so my left ear was affected more, so you have to be careful. I just try and really limit the volume now of the inner. It sucks. It's like I want it at a volume that where I want it is too loud, you know, every time. And one step below where I want it is where I generally should put it, or, you know, it's a drag. It's funny because a lot of in-ear people come up and or like sound monitor people, and they'll set the volume on your inner pack, and you put them in, and I think it's loud, man. And like I'm like, is that how everybody listens? Like they're just setting the volume this loud, and or like, am I weird? But it seems loud to me. Like it makes my ears, I feel it afterwards. They ring it. So anyway, hello from beautiful Northeast Oregon. I would love to go to Oregon. Haven't been there for a while. I like Oregon a lot. Eugene, Portland, nice places. I haven't seen much of it. Like the coast of Oregon, I'd love to go. Something I've never seen. Let's see. Am I still digging Nox? Yeah, it's awesome. This is Chris Lee. It's killer. Reason that you joined late is because you were playing yours. Yeah. Yeah, no, I'm really digging it. It's a great tool. I don't know what else to say. I'm still finding my way with it, but it works really good. Get more into it tomorrow. I'm going to make a full video for it. I'll record a song with it, some cool sounds and stuff. So that'll be coming as soon as I can. I've already done a couple sort of like, just sort of initial videos with it and stuff. But I'm stoked. I did one this week where I used the soft tube tri-chorus so I had the aux running SPDIF into the interface, and then on the channel in UA console I ran a LA2A and a soft tube tri-chorus. I made a quick little clip. It's up on Instagram and stuff, maybe on my Facebook. I didn't put it on YouTube, but really cool tri-chorus plug-in too. Works great. Who's inspiring me as a guitar player at the moment? Ian, Thornley, I love. Every time I hear Laurie play, it's like, gosh, she's so good. She's got such cool, funky, awesome in the pocket sort of phrasing, and plays the right shit, like she can play technically, but it's never too much. She always slows back down after giving you some flashy thing and locks in. She's great. Wait till you see Tim and Pete show with her. So she's really terrific. Who else? I don't know. I'll think of somebody in a minute. The guy from the War on Drugs. You guys listen to them? That guy's so cool. Man, he plays cool stuff. And great tones. He's a pedal geek. I watched his rig rundown, his Premier guitar. And it was cool, man. He's like way into his guitar rig and pedals and stuff. He's a total geek, But I love the band, and he plays great, awesome guitar, but it's kind of Dylan-y, his voice, and it's cool. Check out the War on Drugs if you haven't. I just like where he's coming from a lot. Seems like a cool guy too. So, have I ever found I had to adjust my Sur neck relief more frequently than other guitars? No, I just play my Surs more, so I probably adjust the necks more because I'm always playing them. But my guitar, I will say, so it's mahogany, and mahogany is more porous, and I find generally with mahogany I have to adjust it more than maple. So that's just the nature of the wood because it's mahogany. So if you have a mahogany neck, know that. If you've got a maple neck guitar, it's generally, especially like maple with a separate maple fingerboard or something, they just seem like they're super rigid. It depends on the guitar. But, okay. How do I deal with stage fright? I think about Jack White. It's honestly what I do. Like in his kind of fearless... I have a couple go-to people I think about and their attitude, and I just go there. That's what I do. If I'm having a moment of like panic or whatever, which happens, Or I focus on one person in the crowd and I kind of play to them. Like there's a moment in Tiyoshi's show, the Japanese artist I play with, where there's a song called Sherry, actually, the English name. But and I play a solo on it with him, and so he starts the song, and he plays quite freely on the acoustic, his time moves and stuff. So he's playing the song, and then I kind of step out, and spotlight comes on, and I play a solo, And I did that in front of 100,000 people once, like at the Fuji gig, And it was with a different rig than my regular rig because we were on a center stage. He drove his, this is crazy, I know it sounds, but he drove a Corvette all the way through the crowd out to the center stage. And while he was singing, by the way, and while we were on stage playing, he sang the whole second verse and chorus of a song, like driving Corvette through the crowd. And Mr. Pan, they go big. And he got out to the middle stage, and then he started a solo set out there. So literally, like a small stage in the middle of 100,000 people. So then I took a golf cart, it wasn't as fancy, all the way out to the stage. And on the fourth or fifth song, I had to get up and play Sherry with him. I was playing through a modeler, and I kind of set up a sound before, but I did, it's a little bit of like a mystery. What's gonna, because you're not playing through your rig. We're on in-ears, so the delay coming off the PA was, it had to be 600 or 700 milliseconds because we were literally a quarter mile or something from where the stage was, all the way out into the. So you're hearing the PA, but we've got in-ears in, and I had to turn my in-ears up so damn loud to not hear that delay coming off the PA. I'd literally play and it'd be like, eh. This is crazy, like the amount of delay. So hearing that slapback of his voice and everything, and I had to lock to his acoustic. Talk about pressure. And then so I had it, planned that I was going to walk up on the stage like right as I start playing the solo and just kind of drama, right? And he, I've got all the crew like going, go, like get up in Japanese, like it's time to go, it's time to play, and I'm like, everybody just leave me alone right now. I've got my guitar, and I'm gonna walk out on that stage. I'm trying to not pay attention to the delay. I've got his voice cranked in my in-ears and his acoustic guitar, and 8 beats before the solo, I walked up the steps onto the stage and it's just music. Just play the damn guitar like you have for 30 years or whatever. You can close your eyes and get into it, and you try and have fun. And I think it looked like I was having fun. Just tune out, and it's like if you hit a wrong note, like slide around and make it sound like you did it. Like Eddie Van Halen said, hit a wrong note, hit it again, it'll sound like you meant it. It's kind of true. But I also do, like, I swear to God, I think about fearless folks like I always see Jack White that way. It's like he just doesn't give a shit. Like he'll break, if the guitar breaks or he breaks a string or whatever, just throw it down, finish the song, and then the vocals, right? And it's better. It's like better because it was more exciting than had everything gone perfectly. So that's how I do it. Okay. Let's see. Can I recommend someone in California that can recover and assemble speaker cabinets? In California, I don't know that. I know that one person makes a lot of the cabinets for different manufacturers, such as Bogner and stuff. I just don't know who it is. That would be a question you'd have to ask somebody like a David Friedman. Ask Dave Friedman. Maybe he knows somebody. I don't know who built their cabinets and stuff. I have no idea. Ask him. Let's see here. Do I find different tuners change the sound of a guitar, like the tuning pegs themselves? I don't know. I've never gotten really that into it. I mean, certainly heavier ones are going to change the mass of the headstock, and it's probably going to make an effect. But I haven't gotten that deep into it. Have I ever played a Supra Royal Reverb? Being offered one used. No, I haven't. I like the new Supra amps, though. I like what they're doing. I do, but I haven't played that particular one. Let's see. Somebody's saying they had to send a custom shop Strat back. Could not eliminate the fret buzz, even with maximum neck relief. That's weird. There's always a solution for those problems. What strap locks do I use? Generally Dunlop. Sometimes these days I've just been using the cheapy plastic things that you put over the strap, and kind of like, especially on my vintage guitars, like on my Kelly and stuff, because they work fine. You just put them over top of the button, and then you turn them, and they lock the regular strap on there, and then you don't have to change the buttons out on your vintage guitars. You always lose them and stuff. Shit, I almost knocked something over. Have I tried Lazy J amps? No, I have heard of them, but I haven't. But if I use locks, I use Dunlops. Sometimes I use Shaler. The only problem with the Dunlops is the the screws are big. So sometimes you got to drill out the holes in your guitar to be bigger. That bothers me a little bit, but I like the buttons and I like their strap locks. They're real solid. Shaler's I find sometimes the problem I have with them is the little nut that screws around the part that goes on the strap gets loose. That bothers me. And sometimes because probably the screws are smaller, the pins get loose in the guitar. So I have yet to try one that's really amazing. Gil Yaron on the black guitar he made me, the black Yaron bone guitar. It's got some amazing strap locks. I have no idea who makes them, but they're super cool looking too, and they're kind of high end. It's pretty cool. Any guitar players that make me nervous to play around? Sure. I wouldn't play it with Scott Henderson at MI. I would only go in and listen to him do open counseling when I was at MI, because he'd tear people a new one too. Like sometimes, you suck, you know. He just has no filter sometimes. I love him. I love him. He's a great guy. He's awesome. But he'll tell, and you know, probably people need to hear it. Like when he would tell him. I'm not being critical. Actually, he's you know, it was kind of in a funny way when he did it. But in retrospect, I should have had more balls and just played with him, because I probably would have learned something. You know, definitely would have learned something. Axe FX 3, have not tried it. I'm just getting used to my AX8 still. Actually, I used it on the Tim and Pete show with Laurie, and Laurie's playing through it for some of it, and I'm playing through it, and we got some cool sounds. So check that out this week. I'll put it out. I like it. I like the AX8. It's cool. Let's see here. Love my song from the Ventress demo, said RC Dad. Thank you. It's a nice, interesting pedal for sure. Cool reverb. Have I looked into the Universal Audio Aero? Any thoughts versus the Apollo? Is the Aero the cheap one, the smaller one? I'm sure it's really cool. I have an Apollo Twin that I don't know that I'd want to go smaller, because I find that I need the plug-in power, and I think it's only a single processor. If we're talking about the little interface, but it does look nice and portable. It'd be great for tracking. You know, it's just when I go to mix sometimes, I need at least the Duo, because I'm not using the Ocean Way Studios plug-in sometimes, and a few other things, and I need the juice for the plug-ins. Scott says, I've been to Costa Rica as well. You're spot on about the roads. Seems like whatever goes there. Yeah, I think the potential for disaster is high on those roads, but what a great country. The people are so nice. Pura vida. It's a good vibe, Costa Rica. I had a nice vacation there. I did. It was a good memory. Let's see. Have I ever thought of trying to have an interview with Rick Beto? I don't. Is that how you say his name? I'm sorry. I don't know that guy. I'm sorry, but I'd be happy to check out his channel. Which amp sounds best with the McMull? Vincent's asking that again. They all sound good. Anything that you would use a P90 for. It sounds great through the PT. It sounds great too. It's just that ballsy kind of. It's got the guitar's got a lot of acoustic quality to it. Like the McMull, it's got this real throaty kind of, and it's kind of like an acoustic guitar when you lay into it in a way. And I mean that in a great way, like a lot of tone coming through the pickups. You'll see. I think you're getting there. So, have I tried the Marshall Code amps? No. No, I'd say. Hi from the Netherlands. Can I talk about how I approach modes? Well, basically it's all just, you know, part of the same scale. Just kind of what note you start and end on. That's how I approach it. You know, so if I'm thinking about, you know, D Mixolydian, I'm thinking, well, it's G major basically. I'm just starting and ending on D as the kind of core root tone, and that's how I think of it. I don't really think about them that much these days beyond, yeah, I do. It's like, okay, this is kind of D Mixolydian. It's kind of, I can't really play to my, you know, if you're like playing a bluesy thing or something, or it's some kind of progression, but you've got the flat 7, but it doesn't really sound great to lean on the minor third very much, then I'm playing a Mixolydian. You know, I'm thinking D Mixolydian. Like, makes the most sense to kind of always be hearing that major third, If I hit the minor third, I'm getting up to the major third quickly, bending. That's how I think of D mix. You know what I mean? Like, otherwise, if it's more like a blues or something that you can kind of lean on the minor or play the, then I'm thinking more like if in a sort of extended D blues situation where it's a combination of blues scale, mixolydian, and everything. That was a tangent. Mixolydian tangent. I should use that song title. Song on my new album. The Mixolydian Tangent, inspired by my Sunday live. Okay, moving down. Where do I find inspiration in playing, songwriting, and life? I don't know, man. But I am inspired. I am. I don't know what it is. Try and keep life simple and unfettered. Let's see. Leon wants to send John, Sarah, and I drinks. I think a margarita. If you're going to the bar. Order a silver, please. Fresh lime. A little bit of agave. Make it a Cadillac. Newest part of my rig I just can't do without. Like my live rig? Well, my new pedal board, I guess. Love it. They knocked it out of the park. Let's see here. Eric says he finally pulled the trigger and bought a hedgehog. I'm going to poop myself when it gets here. See if you can play it first and then poop. Enjoy the amp first before things get... No, I'm not going to go there. You ever spill the beans and tell Chris that you and Yogi worked the audition out beforehand? I don't think so. I don't think we ever talked about that. I think he would have been fine with that, though, because he would have, knowing Chris, he would have thought, well, that's good. They're organized and they're showing... Chris was a methodical kind of like... he appreciates things like logic and organization and effort, for sure, So, had he known that we were commiserating like that beforehand to be organized when we came in. That's what he said, He said when we were playing together, he goes, it's like these guys have already rehearsed together. Like this is, which was like a way of saying like, this is one less thing that I have to worry about, Like this just sounds good. This is a no-brainer. That's the key to auditions. You want to make people feel that way. That's what I feel like. Problem solved. If you can make them feel like that, then you got the gig. Can I recommend any guitar brands from Japan? Sure. Crews, C-R-E-W-S. There's a store called Hoochie's in. It's just like it sounds. Hoochie's in like H-O-O-C. H-O-O-C-I. Why can't I spell that? I can't spell it. Hoochie's, like hooch. Anyway, whatever. Starts with an H. Hoochie's, and they're in Shibuya, and they sell these Crews. They're somehow affiliated, and you see the Crews guitars other places, and they're exceptionally nice guitars for actually not too much money. I mean, they have some more expensive ones, but they have some that are right around like $1,000 or a little bit more. They're made in Japan. Really, really nice. Basically kind of Les Paul and SG knockoffs and Flying V's and stuff like that. And some of them, they go up to like $4,000 or $5,000. But even the lower end ones that I played are like really good, man. I played like a Pelham Blue SG they had that was beautiful. So they're good. Who else? Other Japanese guitar brands. Let me think. I'm gonna think about it for a minute. There's so many, that you see over there. You go into stores. Oh God, Key Music in Shibuya has some interesting brands. Fullertone or something, and they were kind of cool. Kind of a bit of an old. Certainly need to reno that store. But Key Music, if you're in Shibuya, go in there and go up to the floor that has the kind of more custom electric guitars. And you'll find some interesting stuff up there, like some nice like 335s that look like real 61s and stuff. They're really nice. Yeah. If Sir didn't exist, what would I play? Well, I don't know. I mean, there's a lot of stuff out there. I bonded with those guys, and let's the way I've kind of gone, I guess, in a lot of ways for guitars and amps. And what do I think about the latest Gibson news? Somebody was asking me. I mean, yeah, they're in a lot of trouble, and we'll see what happens. I don't know what else to say. It's like, how do you get out from that mountain? You're in a world of shit. I don't know. Maybe they go bankrupt and then restructure, and I don't know how that stuff works, really. You know, hopefully they don't go away forever if they do go away for a minute, and then they come back better, smaller, quality. That's what I would hope, you know. I thought all the bullshit, robot tune. You know, how many years did robot tuners and Boogie Van Les Pauls and Flying V's? By the way, that Flying V is a total ripoff of the Jackson Rockwell, right? Go Google that. It's kind of funny. Everybody go Google Jackson Roswell. Roswell, like you know, it's a UFO situation. Go do that and get back to me. Kind of funny. What's my favorite Netflix show? Man, I fell off the Netflix bandwagon. I used to watch House of Cards, and I got through the last season of that, which is great. And all that stuff went down with Spacey. We'll see if that comes back. I think it will. It'll probably come back. He was kind of almost done on the show anyway. He's out of the picture now, so it's like, I don't know. It'd be interesting to see where they go with it now, I think. So I really liked House of Cards. Black Mirror, but it always depresses me. I'm almost scared to start watching it. Like, it's awesome when I watch it, but it's like, God damn, that was dark. And then I got to go to bed and go to sleep after watching one of those. Yeah. Jennifer's asking, what's the time signature of free will? I have to think about it. Is it a bar of... There's like a bar of 3 and a bar of 4. I don't know. I have to think about it. I'm not really sure. Rush does a lot of stuff in 7. I have to think about free will. It's odd meter, but I can't. I have to think about how to count. I don't want to bore everybody. Lost my place. Jackson Roswell. Yeah, that's it. Go Google Jackson Roswell and then Google the new Gibson Flying V and just laugh. Oh, my computer's gonna die. We're gonna move. We're gonna switch up the location. I should probably go relatively soon. It's supposed to be my day off. I'm gonna take a drive and chill out today. Okay, so another, yeah, we're about an hour and a half now. I'll do another 10 minutes or so, and then jet. Hey there, sir. I think there's a serious lag. He doesn't know I'm in here yet either. What up, John? There's a serious lag because I take forever to answer questions, John, and so I'm always back, like, you know, in the chat. And then the chat jumps around, which is really annoying, and I lose my place. Okay, so I'm going way back here to try. I'm only going to go back to certain... John's... Okay, so somebody's asking about my signature amp. That's Andrew Grant asking John, can you tell us any more about it? John says it'll tick all the boxes. That's what we're trying to do, is make an amp that is simple, yet has options, sophisticated enough, you know, but not confusing, and solves a bunch of problems. It's really cool. So that's what we're trying to do. And, you know, obviously great tone, built like a brick shit house, and all that good stuff. You know, less weight, obviously. The old one's really big. We know that. So, okay. So, have I tried the new EMG vintage style humbuckers? I have not. I have not. I have an EMG pickup in the bass I have at the studio right now. It sounds really good, I have to say, but I don't know much about EMG pickups beyond that. Kind of a passive pickup sort of guy, although you might be saying that these ones are passive vintage style. I don't know. Have you ever played a Laney Ironheart? No. What setup do I listen to music on when I'm home? Generally through my studio monitors, which at home I got a set of Dynaudios. Yeah, I'm just got my computer and my UA interface hooked up to these Dynaudios. Sometimes I use my stupid sound bar from Samsung that's hooked up to my TV over there, and it sounds fine. I just Bluetooth my phone up or whatever. It's not amazing. It was like $200, but it works. Okay. Sorry, my eyes are bugging out, as usual. John should sing to George Russell something about easier on the tubes and get a better sound with a separate cab. I don't know what that means. Oh, just combos versus heads, maybe. They're having their own conversation. Let them do their thing. Let's see here. You guys are all talking in the chat now. There's no questions. So I'm just hanging out with you guys at this point. Instrumental songs to learn to play. Because We've Ended as Lovers by Jeff Beck. Start there. That was the first thing that came to mind. The Power of Melody. It became John's show. What happened? He's just taken over. Okay. Let's see. Oh, this is funny. Brian says, I just listened to Crazy Town. Oh my God, I have a new favorite guitar player. You were masterful. And I was thinking, Crazy Town, that was that band that was out in like 2008. I wasn't in the band Crazy Town. And then and then I realized you meant Dirty Town. Thank you. Crazy Town. Remember those guys? Come, my lady. Come, my lady. You're my sugar pie. I haven't thought about that band since that song was a hit. It was just like a long time ago. You stirred up some old neurons there that just fired. Okay. Let's see. Let's see. Something special about people who make aggressively simple, easy music that still sounds good. I hope that's a compliment about my music. I appreciate that. If so, Queen Lizzie says, what clone am I using nowadays? Like clone style? I use the Archer quite a bit. Variations on the Archer. That's the main one that I use. Okay, moving down. This is a great point. Networking in the future says, remember, wrong notes are a million more times noticeable to the player. Usually they are minuscule or unnoticed in the eyes of the crowd. That's absolutely true, and you have to remember that. You know, even being out of tune and stuff is like, when you're in the audience, you don't notice it as much as being on stage, especially this is why I hate in-ears, is the clinical nature of listening to yourself through those. You've always got yourself loud so you can hear yourself, and then every single damn thing you do, is amplified. It's kind of why I like to used to play, just with monitors and no in-ears, and sometimes walk away from the monitors. You can't really hear what you're doing except what's coming through the PA, and you can just walk around and play, and you start to play better because you play harder because you can't hear yourself that well, and so you're leaning into it, and you're like not so analytical of, and I actually play better guitar like that. So it's a really good point, is that when you make a little mistake, just know that nobody noticed for the most part. The people that did are like thinking about the wrong shit. Unless it's really bad. Then you can be like, all right. Let's see. Wrong notes means you're searching for notes to play, like Richie Blackmore. Yeah, Richie has a way. That dude's fearless. I saw a video of him playing like early 70s in some TV studio. Maybe some of you guys know the video. You can suggest it in the chat for people to go. But it's a video of him he's playing in a TV studio, taking a solo, and then he turns way down on the guitar, and then he starts playing something that sounds kind of like a nursery rhyme or something. He's just like basically screwing around, and then spends like a minute just kind of playing this weird shit, and then rolls the guitar back in and comes in and blistering, and it's like, man, like he just did that on like probably what was live TV or something. He just didn't care. It was so cool. Any opinion on 410 cabinets? Well, I just got the, like I said, did the amps in the zone video yesterday with Blackface Super Reverb, which just, it's hard. 410s sound great, man. Like Bassman or Super style can be just a really, really cool thing. I really like, for example, even like the in the aux, I like the 410 Bassman sounds. For anything, kind of Fendery, it's really cool. It has this nice organic thing, and the sound coming out of the back of the cabinet when it's open is really cool. I didn't know this, but Landau plays these Carry Wright cabinets, and his is oval open back. So, good point there. Eric says, is that your super reverb Pete used in his amp for the amp in the zone video? No, it's not. John does own a really beautiful super. He's saying that too here. No, I used Toshi Yanagi from the Jimmy Kimmel show. He's a guitar player on the Kimmel show. He lent me his super. And he's an amazing guitar player if you haven't heard him. But he has a beautiful super. It has 2 Kendrick speakers in the bottom that I guess are sort of popular, but I didn't mic those. I mic'd the regular Fender, probably the CTS or whatever they are, speakers that are in the top. I mic'd one of those. I'm not sure about those Kendrick speakers. Maybe they sounded better. I just didn't have time, and I thought, well, I want to mic what was originally in the amp, since it's supposed to be a sort of a video about that vintage amp. So, any chance of reviewing a Boss SD1 or Ibanez Tube Screamer? Well, to be honest, I did. That's kind of a joke, I think. Oh, Neil. It's Neil Aspinall. Neil hates pedal videos. He's joking around, I think. But anyway, he's tired of all the pedals out there, I think, and pedal videos. That's funny, Neil. Any plans working with Steve Stevens again? Well, Steve played on my new album, so he's playing keys. He did some programming stuff, and he's playing bass on like 3 songs. So wait for that. It's coming. Live, I don't know. I'd love to do it again with him, but it's kind of the stuff he did on my record is like it sounds like Steve Stevens. It's cool. It's like because he has a thing like your stuff just starts sounding like it's that's slightly like prog. It's cool. I love when Steve. It's just like go dude, like do your thing. Starts sounding like one of his songs. I love it. PT50 info says Leon. I don't know, John. What do you say? Put John on the spot here. You're here, John, so come on. Tell the guys about the amp. No, we're working on it. Don't mean to give John a hard time. Well, yes, I do, sometimes. Scott Anderson is amazing, says Leon. Did his MI online course. Oh, I didn't know he had an MI online course. And it was eye-opening. That's cool. I'd like to do that. Wanted to ask which own hammer this is. Somebody's asking about own hammer IRs that I used for the Groomed Noodler. So that would be the Sir Reactive Load with the SL67 amp, and I used the own hammer. It was a G12M blackback 55 hertz bass cone. So in a 412. I'm not sure which one it was, but it was one of the original, like, years ago, whatever he had available. Because he's got that's the one thing with own hammers. There's so many IRs and so many packages and stuff. But that speaker generally sounds great that he's got. He's done a bunch of IRs with it. It's a G12M 1977 blackback 55 hertz bass cone, which is kind of rare. But that speaker sounds awesome to me, and it sounds awesome to me in other impulses that I've heard of similar, like the Blue Box that I have, that thing from the Blue Guitar, which is great, by the way. It's a little speaker simulator box. It has the same like 1970s G12M blackback 55 hertz bass cone setting on it, and it just kind of sounds deeper and full, like real full, in just this great way. That's a little bit different than the standard 75 hertz greenback that I've heard. So I've never played one in real life, but I really want one of those speakers. I really want to get one, a bass cone G12M. I just bought a quad of blackback 75 hertz that I put in my 412, which sound great, so I gotta calm down. Okay. Just got an alert about something. Oh, we got 445 people online. Man, maybe I have to stay a little bit longer. Let's go another 20 minutes since there's so many people here. That's awesome. Okay, so here's a good one to address. Let's do this while we've got the most people here. T Nation says, "Are you gay?" So Here's the thing about internet trolls that try and stir up shit. I'm gonna address this right now because I luckily have been really fortunate to have a minimum of that going on. But here's the thing that you need to know about internet trolls, and I'll address this guy directly, is that it's kind of pathetic, and the rest of the world needs to know that when somebody, I mean, when you think about it, if somebody's trying to provoke you online by stirring up something and say something controversial, right? Have you ever met a well-adjusted person that does that? Or somebody that's actually got things going on in their life and things to do? You know, like people don't, first of all, I mean, what a stupid thing to say, because what if I was, you know? I mean, you have to think about, you know, I've got a long history of working with, you know, many of my closest friends are gay people, you know, Melissa Etheridge. And so it's like, you're not going to provoke me with that, you know? But beyond that, it's just like, you need to get a life and you need to go do something productive with your time. Because know this, if you're an internet troll, and you're the kind of person that goes and tries to stir up shit and just tries to hurt people online, I guarantee you, you will never be the person that comes to an audition and beats me out for a gig. You will never be a person that is productive and puts out music and is, because invariably you can go look at these people and find them online. You go look at their YouTube page or their Facebook or whatever and just do a little bit of research into them. If they're talking shit and they're just disturbing, that's all they do. They don't upload creative content. They're not productive. You know, it's like a mental illness. So I genuinely feel pity for people that, you know, stir up shit online and are just kind of rude and mean to other people. So getting back to my previous point, you will never be the person that comes and beats me out for a gig. You will never be the person that, you know, is prolific and contributing art of any kind, you know, any kind of creative content, because you don't have time when you're a person that has your mind focused in a proper way, and you're thinking about moving forward, and you're thinking about being productive and getting things done. You don't have time for that. It doesn't even occur to you to go make negative bullshit comments on the internet, on other people's, you know, social media or whatever. So know that if you're a troll, you just appear pathetic to people like me that are productive and actually do things, you know. Because I'm transparent. I mean, it's like, you know, I put out things, I go play gigs, I do work, you know, I work. This is what I do, you know. Play guitar, love music. And so that's transparent. And now, having said that, if you're the type of person that is productive and practices hard and constantly working on improving themselves, you can absolutely be that person that comes and beats me out for a gig at an audition. You'll absolutely be the person that, you know, sells more songs online than me or whatever it does, because that's what it takes, you know. So decide what you want to focus your life on if you're the type of person that goes and talks shit on the internet about other people, and think about it, you know. Think about it carefully before you do it, because you're just on a path to nowhere, basically. Okay, that's enough about that. Moving down. Comparing the aux to Sir reactive load to the 2 notes torpedo with the same IRs. Does the aux sound more trebly? Well, I haven't done like some sort of direct comparison between all of these load boxes, so I would have to do that to know. But so it's a moving target, because when you're talking about these load boxes, you can kind of only model the impedance curve of one particular speaker and cabinet combination. So you know, you kind of have to look at it like the most important thing is that you're using a reactive load. That's the most important thing. You know, just as long as you're moving away from the resistive stuff and you're using reactive, now you're, you know, 80% of the way there. Then there's going to be a difference between some of them, depending on the type of load box and the cabinet that they've kind of modeled and stuff. So, you know, if they're out there and they're claiming it's a reactive load these days, you're in probably pretty good shape. My favorite's been the Sir for many years, because of the fact that I helped John actually with it. I mean, he made a couple prototypes and stuff, and I was sort of voicing concerns and opinions and stuff like that till he landed on the one where I went, I can't really tell the difference anymore between loading with a real cabinet and loading with this. And then at that point, they put it out. So beyond that, they're all really, really good these days. I mean, there's things that the Ox has going for it, there's things the Sur has going for it, the thing the Torpedo has going for it. Torpedoes, for instance, let's take it for example, it's rack mount. And it stores the IRs with, right in the unit. So it's got some great things going for it, My favorite load is the Sur, but the Torpedo I've taken to sessions and stuff occasionally because it just made sense to use on a certain thing. So all these companies are making really, really good products. But know that, the load, it's like, as soon as you switch, it all kind of goes out it doesn't all go out the window because there's a reactive component to the speaker cabinets and the power amplifier, no matter what. So it's like, as long as you're close, it's like, you can kind of make adjustments using EQ on the amp or whatever, one way or another. If the load isn't, so for example, with the aux, if it's doing the Jensen thing, it's going to be a slightly different sounding load than the Sur, which is more a greenback cab. But you get what I'm saying. It's a bit of a moving target. They're kind of like trying to compare the load boxes online in the videos I've seen. Michael, I can't remember his last name, but he put up a video recently. He did that, and I think he makes great videos. He's a great guitar player. He makes cool, useful videos. I wouldn't have done it quite the way he did it because he was using different speaker cabinet. It was almost like you might as well just be comparing different tones. Which tone do you like better? Because there were so many factors, right? Like different IRs, different component to, you know what I mean? So it's like, at that point, it's you kind of have to use a static impulse response. I guess that's what the original poster was saying. Use a static impulse response, compare the tone of the load boxes. But what you should really be doing is comparing through an impulse response, loading with a cabinet, and now moving to the different boxes and going, well, which one do I like better? But it really is like, it's kind of a moving target, because every cabinet loads differently. Okay, I'm going to go faster now, because I got way behind. John's getting more questions than I am, so I'm trying to find one again here. Let's see. Yeah, I mean, Eli says modes, we're back to modes. Modes only really are useful if you forget the parent scale. I guess that's sort of true. Like, Dorian's great on minor chords, so, A Dorian, you don't want to be thinking about G major. That's true. I mean, so, it's a good way to look. That's sort of the way I look at it, too, I guess. Mixolydian, great on dominant seventh, basically, Okay, moving down. I really can't find a question anymore because everyone's talking to John. John, beat it! Or, no, I'm just kidding. I wanted you here. Okay. Have I ever played the Fender Eric Johnson Strat? Any thoughts? I thought it was cool. He's got different models out now, so I haven't played it for a while. But when the original one came out, I liked it. I thought the neck was a little gooey. Whatever finishing. How would I go about mastering bends and vibrato? Just practice. It really is just practice. I used to sit there and, with my guitar here right now. It's dumb. Should have one I could pick up. There's a 12 string, but I can't bend on that. Basically, you just want to do it. And so, listen. The first thing you got to do is get good at playing in tune. So, like for example, play the 5th fret on the high E string, and then bend the 8th fret on the 2nd string up a whole step to match that note. I'd play the first pitch on the 1st string and then bend the 2nd string up and just make sure you're nailing the pitch. So kind of, get good if you're just starting bending and stuff. Get good at making sure you're bending in tune, and both quickly getting up to the pitch quickly and also bending slowly up to the pitch. Then what you want to do is practice vibratoing and coming, so you're going to go down and up and you're going to basically drop below the pitch and then come back to the pitch, and you want to not lose the tuning stability of that. Does that make sense? So if you're bending G up to the A on the 2nd string, bend the G to the A, drop it a little bit, get back up to that A, drop it a bit, get back up to that A, you know. And this isn't something you need to look at a tuner when you're doing or anything, but just use your ear and occasionally listen to that reference pitch, the A note on the 5th fret of the 1st string, and just practice always coming back to that, you know. And faster vibrato, slower vibrato. Listen to your favorite players and look at how they vibrato. You know, for example, you know, the whole like awesome Eric Clapton thing where he kind of does this, which I can't really do very well, but I love that vibrato. So that's something I want to practice more. Or you can kind of pivot. You know, I find that the thing is with vibrato, I find that the thing with vibrato is that putting more of your arm into it is generally, so when I see people vibrato and they use like their finger, it always sounds nervous and not like real confident. There's not like a real stability to it. So either doing the pivot thing, like where you pivot kind of vibrato like that, because then you got your whole wrist and kind of your forearms into it, or else doing this thing where the whole hand and arm is almost moving like Eric Clapton does. Both those ways sound really good to me. And then there's also the type of vibrato that's more like a classical player where you're sort of pushing up against the fret and doing this, right? And that has a different sound. It's kind of interesting. That sound is actually, you're stretching the string in the way where the pitch is dropping. So if you listen to it, it's kind of fascinating because every other type of vibrato you do, you're pushing up. And well, that's not really true. If you're bending a vibrato, you can come down. But do you know what I mean? If you're vibratoing a single note without a bend, it's always going kind of up in pitch, right? But with the kind of classical style vibrato where you're rocking back and forth against the fret, the pitch actually drops. So it's a unique sound and sort of more subtle. Price says your bends and vibrato are awesome. Thank you. I love that. That's your voice as a guitar player, is bending a vibrato. You know, be it using a vibrato bar or being, you know, whatever that it lends more to your personal sort of voice on the instrument than just about anything, I think. You know. So yeah, Kevin says can't answer for Pete, but find a player with vibrato you like and copy it. That's good because you can generally find videos and see the way they're doing it, and then just work on it until you get that. Look at their technique and exactly what they're doing. Yeah, John's suggesting listen to Mountain and Billy Gibbons on Tres Hombres. Yeah, I've been getting into it. John got me kind of on an old ZZ Top kick lately, and I've been really into those first 2 ZZ Top records. It's so great. The interesting thing about Billy, vibrato and phrasing, Billy Gibbons has this way of like he's kind of minimalist in a lot of ways, and where he starts and ends phrases is interesting rhythmically, and he also has it's the duration of the notes. So it's like he hits a note. He's got those early albums, the groove and feel is just incredible, but when he cuts notes off is also really cool. Check that out. Like it's where he starts them and also the duration of them, you know. And I hear a lot of Billy and Eddie Van Halen's playing. I think Eddie must have listened to a lot of ZZ Top or learned a lot of his stuff probably in those early like Van Halen cover band days. And they certainly, I know they did like, you know, ZZ Top songs live and stuff like that. Okay, I'm trying to move way down here. Let's see here. Find some more questions. Josh is like, what do you like doing outside of music? Well, I'm working on Japanese right now. Starting to do that again, which I find really interesting. I really want to learn that language and like show myself that I can do it. So I'm trying to get better at it. And that's really interesting to me. So traveling too, just kind of traveling and tripping around different countries is sort of my other hobby, I guess. Okay, chat skipped way down now, but that's okay because I gotta go relatively soon. So got about another 8 or 9 minutes. So I'm going to go all the way to the bottom and kind of then just skip back a little bit. So I'm sorry, guys, if I missed your questions because I got kind of hung up on talking about trolls and stuff like that. But let's see. Tone Talk, what's up? It says, was I good at art when I was younger, or comics or anything like that? No, I suck at drawing, man. I always did. It was always music for me. That was my deal. Okay. Trying to see here. My favorite fretboard wood. Generally rosewood, but I really like maple too, and I like ebony sometimes. So it's a mixture. Like I love ebony on for that Les Paul custom thing. You know, it's got a cool thing. Um, yeah, but nice, nice piece of dark rosewood. It's kind of a lot of my guitars seem to be rosewood, so I guess I've gravitated towards that. Um, Getting down lower here. Thanks for doing these. Says, sorry, I can't read your GSK8ET is your name. Is there anything that hasn't changed over the years of your playing that you're surprised didn't change? Most things. I basically play like I did, 15 years ago or whatever. It's kind of interesting to listen to old recordings of yourself and see like what's changed and what hasn't. I've gotten better, I guess, at some things, but um, not that much has changed. I don't think. At one point, I really worried on being able to. I did worry about it, but I worked on my time, like feel, and being able to lock in with the click and be able to play a little on top, a little behind, or right in the center. Marcus is asking about the Bella amp. Is it more tweedish or more blackface-ish? I would say it's more blackface-ish, right, John? But if you're still here, I would definitely say that. But it's its own thing too. The Bella to me sounds like a American clean style amp that doesn't fart out when you turn it up loud. It'll have that breakup character, but it doesn't, when you play it never does that, which is cool. What's the best attenuator for the money? There's a lot out there, man. I don't know. I mean, I kind of, I am a fan these days of the load box and reamp technique. So I do like the power station for that. Because that's basically what it is in one box. It just sounds the most natural to me of the units I've tried. That's the truth. What else? How did I get so knowledgeable about guitar? Is that a question for me or John Sir? Nobody knows more about guitars and amps than John. That's the truth. That guy knows pretty much everything there is to know about. But if you're asking me, it's just because I don't think about anything else, really. I'm kind of one-dimensional, I hate to say. Basically. But it really is, just a matter of that whole, like, 10,000 hours thing or whatever. It's all I care about it a lot. I love it. So I just thought about nothing else since I was about 13 or 12. What picks and strings are you using these days? I use generally the not Tortex, Ultex is the material. 73 millimeter from Dunlop, but I'll mess around too. I'll use different. They make these prime tone picks that are really cool. Dunlop, they sent some to me. I like those. And then I'll mix it up for acoustic and stuff, and usually try some different ones. Somebody says you finished the AX8 some time ago. I finished. Maybe you mean I flashed it. See, flashed the AX8. Yeah, I got an AX8. Is there a demo coming? I haven't done a full demo thing with it, but I did take it and use it this week on the Tim and Pete show with Laurie. So I'm playing through it, and then I give my guitar to Laurie, and Laurie's playing through it for a while. And we kind of try some different sounds, and I talk a little bit about the sounds I made in it. So it's sort of an impromptu kind of like, demo, and it sounded great on using it for that. I was totally happy with it. So I'll do more with it, I'm sure, video-wise and stuff. How do you prevent the boominess in mini IRs? Even many Onahammers IRs have this problem. The Onahammers do have a very fat, thick bottom sometimes. That's true. In something like a Helix, it's got a low filter that you could roll all the way up to, 70, 75 hertz, something like that if you want to. And then you could cut at like 190, just use an EQ maybe. Try that around 190. When you toured the album Scream, did you do the rock version of Long Gone? Yeah, sort of. We did a rock version of the whole album. That's what I'll say. Basically, it was like sort of my job to figure out how to approach that record and put the loops together and all that stuff. So we did because there's a lot of program stuff on that album and everything. So we went out and got I called it our semi-Pro Tools rig, but we got a Korg hard disk recorder that had 8 tracks, and I split everything into pairs. So there was like keys and drum loops and stuff in different pairs of stereo pairs of things, and I would have that. We'd we're playing to that, but then it was like, all right, now how do we approach this? And like, if there was guitar, obviously it was like we would make it very prominent, like, because I was like, well, we got to try and maybe rock this up as much as we can for live. So, so that's how we kind of approached it. So he went to I think Howard Benson produced the more sort of rock version of Long Gone, and I think Phil X might be playing guitar on it actually. It's possible. He was doing a lot of studio stuff for Howard then. It was cool. That version of the song that came out. It was hard to play because it was in a weird tuning. I remember that. So to do it, I was always like, when I was trying to figure the song out and how they'd cut it in studio, because I didn't play on the studio recording of the rock version. It was like, how did these parts go? It was weird. It was kind of like, because there was some arpeggiation going on. I couldn't find a good fingering way to do it. So it was always an uncomfortable song for me to play live. I'll put it to you that way. It was difficult. I never felt quite like it, and it had to do with the tuning and the certain guitar part and stuff. Maybe I'd probably approach it differently now, all these years later. I would figure out a better way to do it. What's a great affordable tube amp that I would consider? I don't know, used Marshall JCM 800, I guess. That would be if I was trying to find something for under, like around $1,000 or something, you'd probably find one for that. Or a cheap, DSL, like a used DSL from the 90s. You'd find them for like $750 or something. Yeah. Let's see, a couple more questions, and I'm going to jet you guys. John M., it's important to make the return to pitch as consistent and purposeful as the bend up as well. That's true. Like when you're vibratoing, he's saying people whose vibrato sounds jumpy up to the pitch. Yeah, once you do that, he's kind of saying like, he's saying Steve Vai has the perfect wave. Yeah, I agree with that. Like, you want to make it like really confident, and that just takes strength and practice. So the vibrato is really intentional, like the speed it's going at. And it's not something you necessarily have to think about once you get good at it, but it's something that does take work. And Steve obviously put a lot of time into his vibrato and thinking about it, and it's great. So much more important than playing a million notes. It's like this, So let's see here. Let's see. Travis is asking about in the Dirty Town video, there's a shot of a Line 6 Pod 2.0. What was its role in the song? Oh, no, I didn't use it in the song. It was the studio that I was at, was there. So I was using the Helix, though. But I had the Helix hooked up like kind of 4-cable method, and was using it with the PT100. But the Pod was something that belonged to the studio I was recording at. Okay, Queen Lizzie's asking again, which clone am I using? I'm using the Archer, Rocket Archer. Julio says, this was John's question, do I think the Helix creating a great model of the BE hurts or helps Dave? It's probably hurting, to be honest. And there is a debate that maybe should happen about, like, at some point these guys are going to run out of amps to model. What are they going to do then? Because, they're going to run out of amps to model. So it's like, I think that maybe there's something that, I will say this, because I'm a fan of Line 6, obviously, big fan, and I'm a fan of the Kemper and the Axe effects, but maybe the debate should happen where it's like, hey, if you guys are going to go model the company's amplifiers, maybe there is a sort of like, could you pay these companies a nominal kind of royalty for using their, and then possibly, much like Celestion's doing now with Positive Grid, you're licensing their impulse responses, and they've done the work, and get the companies involved. Dave does it with Brainworks, right? With the models, official models of the Friedman amplifier. Certain plug-in companies have official models where you can use, with UA and some different kind. They've got deals with people where it's like they've got the official version of a plug-in that is a model of the hardware. That would be, to me, the best solution, to the whole thing. Because then you're helping to, these people did the R&D kind of, and then all you did was go and sort of model it digitally, right? So they've done the hard blood, sweat, and tears, and somebody goes and profiles it and puts it out. It's like, well, I don't know. You know what I'm saying? Maybe there's a way to, I love all this stuff. I love the technology, but it does seem like it all happened like, boom, like instantly. It all kind of like came out and, kind of, I don't know. You know what I mean? Like kind of blindsided amp manufacturers, maybe to some degree, the technology. And there is some. If modeled amps were just purely like creations of like kind of when Line 6 did that, like the Line 6 Insane model or whatever, right? They're not like a model of an existing amp. Well, that's one thing, but they know that it helps to people go, oh man, I want that Friedman sound or whatever in my modeler. So then they go and copy it, give it another name, and then put it in there, and everybody knows what it is. But it's like slightly like something about it, even though like I said, I don't want to get in trouble with any of these people. It's none of my damn business. These aren't my businesses. But maybe it's a conversation that needs to be had. Okay. Alan says, agreed on royalties. It's an intellectual property. I mean, wouldn't it be better to kind of partner with the company, and offer an official model and get everybody involved, And maybe it's like a collaboration where these companies then end up hiring a company like Sir or Friedman or Bogner or whatever to make an official model for. I guess Line 6 kind of did that, didn't they? Didn't they have the Bogner version of their amps or something? Didn't they do that? I'm trying to remember now. But anyway, you know what I'm saying. Like just kind of get involved with them where it's like we're going to put out the real version. We're maybe going to get some like a bit of like R&D funding or something like that from a company like Line 6 or something like that. They're going to help us put out a new amp. It'll be out for a year, and then they'll make a modeled version of it or whatever, and it will be the official model that we're involved in. That would be a nice solution, where everybody's kind of in bed together, and it's, I don't know, totally talking out of my ass here, like just completely, but maybe an idea like that. Now, question 2, do amp sims like UA sound better than modelers like Helix and Axe? This is John. John, you're stirring it up. I don't think it should. It doesn't. It's just a digital. It's a Shark chip or whatever at that point, right? And you're just whether it doesn't matter whether it's in the computer or in the Helix or Axe effects at that point. I don't think it's like it's a digital simulation of something, so you can either do it in the computer or you can do it in the hardware. Okay, what else? Have I done a Katana demo? No, I have not. Let's see. Do I use any guitars with a recessed Goto 510? No, I don't. I think the height of the standard 510 would be fine for me unless I wanted to pull back further. But where it sits, I'm most comfortable with that, sort of the height of a standard Fender style tremolo, right? Am I going to do a comparison video on the new reactive loads? No, I don't think so. I mean, I did one, right? Basically, I did that original load box demo video on what was available at the time, which is, it was the Sir and the Power Station and the Torpedo and a couple of resistive loads. I put out that video a number of years ago, so you can kind of check that out and listen to them all through the same IR. And I did load with a regular 412 too, so I think it's probably one of the most accurate videos that's out there as far as like okay, here's the cabinet loading, here's a bunch of the load boxes, all through the same static IR and volume matched, so there's none of that business going on. I would check that out. Okay. It's too bad we got into this now because everybody seems to want to talk about it, and I'm 2 hours and 8 minutes in. I should go soon, like really soon. But this is a topic we can take up again next week. Maybe everybody think about it, and then come back and talk about it next Sunday. Like what, I don't know, what is a good solution to the whole modelers, real amps. I love the modelers and stuff, and they're great for doing certain work and all that. But let's never forget that they're copies of the original thing, and the original thing is just cool, and then it's sexier, you know, having the tubes and shit, you know. It's cool. I mean, man, wait till you guys hear what the super reverb sounds like that I just did yesterday. The tone's incredible, and I'm just guitar amp, you know, my old Strat right into the 60 super reverb, and I turned it up to 5 and dialed it in, and it threw a few mics up, and man, it sounds good. It's hard to deny, you know. It's just got so much character. So it's hard to get around that. And it's inspiring, too. Playing that super, you know, it's like in the room, the 410 and stuff, and it's up loud, and shit, man, you can sit there and play anything, the most simple stuff, and it just sounds like, oh, it sounds so good, you know, through the real amp, and it's kind of loud, and it's like, you just want to have drums and bass there and play and jam, you know. It's exciting, and that's kind of a big part of what it's all about. I've been playing guitar a lot through studio monitors for a number of years. And I love doing that. It's very controlled and all that, but it's, you know, it's always good to get in a room of you know, old Super Reverb or 50-watt Marshall or my PT100 for that matter, play live and go, oh yeah, you know, that's what it's all about. We're in Edmonton to live, South Side. It's from Andrew. I lived in Blue Quill and Westbrook. Went to Ainley for high school. You went to Ross Shepherd. You're saying 86 to 88. That's cool. I was there. I don't know. I don't know if I knew anybody from Ross Shepherd or not. Ross Shepherd's in the West End, right? I can't remember. Anyway, what up, Edmonton, homie? Okay. Almost time to go. Super Reverb, early Alex Lifeson tone. Now I heard that he used one. I'm not sure on what, but yeah, man, it rocks. Like, wait till it sounds good, man, with the Strat. And so I've got the tone control mod, so I've got the tone rolled down to 7 on the bridge pickup. And the amp, the way I set up the amp in the video is like Stevie Ray Vaughan used to do it. Bright switch on, treble on 9. Actually, I had it on 8. Turned it down a little bit, but you run the mids on 9, and then you turn the bass down to below 5, like 4, 3, whatever, and then turn it up to about 5. Holy shit, does it ever sound good. It sounds amazing. That's why Stevie ran his. Really, really, really good tone. And it's funny because John's a big fan of that amp too. I know he's got one. That's his one vintage amp. It's the old. Jared is asking if I'm getting an Aura. John, what do you say, John? I think I have to wait for everybody. John wants one too, and he has to wait. He's got to make everybody's guitars. But yeah, no, I've got to get one of those, absolutely. How important is amp placement in the room to tone? Says Stealth Parent. It's important. You know, it depends on whether it's a combo or, you know, 412s and stuff are so beamy, so sometimes it's good to, you know, if you got a 212 closed or to angle it so you can really hear it. But no, totally makes sense. Vincent wants to go drinking with Sir. Definitely. He's a fun guy to have a beer with. Let's sit around and talk about things like modeling. Okay. L wants to ask John if I'm getting an Aura. Who are my music idols? The Beatles, The Who, Van Halen, and then everybody from Prince to the Pretenders to, you know, ZZ Top to, you know, if it's new stuff, it's like all of them map actually. But, okay, all right, you guys, coming to a close here. Time to go. Oh yeah, so Tone Talk, and give a little shout out here for the Tone Talk show with Dave Friedman this Friday with Tim Pierce. That's correct. Tim's going to be on, so yeah, it's going to be a good one. Everybody tune in. It'll probably be 4 hours long. Should be really good. I'm definitely going to watch. I'll be there in the chat, just like you guys are right now, asking questions. But yeah, Friday. All right, you guys. I think I'm going to jet. That's enough. Did I read the Quincy Jones interview? I saw a little bit about it. I know he was on a tear. I think what he said about the Beatles is kind of shitty, but that's because I'm a Beatles fan. I like Quincy, though. Don't get me wrong. Okay.
Andrew says, I'm compelling to listen to. 2 hours flow by. Wow, I don't know what to say. I hope so. I hope it's not boring, and, you know, it's been a good one. And thanks for listening to my rant on trolls. And if anybody gives a shit on the internet, just know they're a loser. That's a fact. Think about it. Winners don't have time for bullshit on the internet. They're not out there making negative comments. They're out there doing things. So, don't be a troll, kids. Your life will end in despair. Okay, you guys take it easy. Have a good week. And I'm going to go enjoy the rest of the day. I'm going to take a day off. Rock and roll. See ya.